You need to hear this, because most people never see it approaching. The moment you stopped pursuing them, they noticed almost immediately, but not in the way you might imagine. Not with relief or casual indifference. No, they noticed with a sudden and deeply unsettling clarity. A clarity that shakes their private thoughts all the way to the core. When you stop chasing, the world around you does not just shift in small ways. The person you once pursued begins a quiet and unseen process of unraveling inside. And this is where things become truly dangerous for them. They sense an empty space where your attention and energy once existed. A space they never fully realized was there before. Now that space feels vast and exposed. They are not accustomed to dealing with such silence, so they begin to panic without fully understanding why. Your absence is not really absence in their mind. It works more like a mirror. It reflects things they never wanted to face about themselves. They realize deep down that their sense of power and influence over you has suddenly disappeared. And what happens when that feeling of control vanishes? Their inner world grows restless and uneasy. It becomes desperate in ways they cannot easily explain. It starts whispering uncomfortable truths they feel too ashamed to acknowledge openly. The truths they avoid during the day return to trouble them at night. They begin to wonder whether they wanted you for who you truly were, or for how you made them feel important. And now that you are no longer there, that false image starts to crumble completely. But they cannot see it clearly yet in their conscious thoughts. Their mind feels split between what they hope for and what they fear. That inner conflict drives them toward a kind of quiet chaos they cannot easily describe. They begin imagining your life moving forward without them. Every laugh you share, every smile you offer to others, and every moment you spend without thinking about them starts to affect them in a silent but powerful way. And here comes the difficult part that surprises many people. It is not only longing they feel. There is also anger mixed with fear and guilt that they cannot sort through properly. It appears in strange behaviors that seem irrational or even reckless at times. Most people never face these feelings directly. They try to escape the discomfort instead. They act as though it does not exist. But you have brought it into the open simply by stepping back, by creating distance and allowing them to sit with the emptiness they were never prepared for. Something deep and primal awakens inside them. Something hidden beneath layers of self-deception begins to stir intensely. That inner voice which remained silent for so long now becomes louder. It tells them they cannot lose you, and they cannot let you go easily. They start remembering every conversation, every message, every glance, and every small moment you shared. They examine themselves closely, and they examine you as well. They search for the exact point where they might draw you back into their orbit. And here is the part that feels most unsettling. They develop a powerful urge to do something about it. Not always in a calculated way, but sometimes suddenly and impulsively, because the human mind dislikes loose ends and uncertainty more than almost anything else. You have created the largest form of uncertainty for them. You might not notice it yet from your side. You could believe that silence feels peaceful and absence causes no real disruption. But absence, when used in the right way, becomes one of the strongest forces imaginable. The moment they realize they can no longer make you chase them is the moment their outer image starts to fracture. Once that image begins to slip away, everything they kept hidden starts emerging into the light. All the things they buried and denied for years begin rising to the surface. And that is the risky part, because the calm and composed person you see on the outside is no longer who they recognize in themselves. They will struggle to understand it, even when understanding feels impossible. In your silence, you have become the center of their internal conflict. But here is what keeps the story moving forward. What comes after this is something they cannot predict in advance. Even they do not fully understand it yet. The silence you created is not really empty at all. It acts as a mirror, reflecting everything they have been avoiding. And that reflection is preparing to speak louder and louder. They cannot stop thinking about it, not because they choose to, but because the empty space you left behind refuses to disappear. Here is the truth they keep hidden, even from themselves. Absence feels more frightening than direct rejection in many situations. Rejection has a clear shape. You can see it, understand it, and eventually process it. Absence feels like complete disorder. It is an open space where their deepest fears are free to paint whatever picture they want. And this is where everything starts becoming complicated. They begin noticing every small detail they overlooked before. Every pause in communication, every delayed reply, every smile that does not include them suddenly becomes significant. Each small withdrawal of your attention lands on their inner world like a heavy impact. They replay moments that seemed insignificant at the time. That joke you laughed at without them present. That brief glance you gave someone else. That message you did not answer immediately. All of it plays repeatedly in their mind. And during that endless replay, they begin finding patterns, or at least what they believe are patterns. Their thoughts desperately search for meaning in everything. Their pride struggles to tolerate unclear situations. And uncertainty is exactly what you handed them when you stepped away. Here is the quiet fear that begins growing inside them. They start questioning their own decisions. Did they judge you unfairly? Did they push too hard? Did they fail to appreciate you when they had the opportunity? Every hidden doubt rises like an old ghost returning to visit their mind. Most people do not realize that the mind does not simply accept loss in silence. It searches for ways to repair it. When no real solution appears, it often creates one of its own. It invents stories, explanations, and possibilities in an attempt to regain a sense of control. And how does this show itself? At first, it appears in small ways, such as a sudden desire to contact you, or a quiet curiosity about what you are doing. Then it becomes stronger through repeated thoughts and dreams about changing what happened. Regret becomes so intense that it feels sharp and difficult to escape. They start feeling trapped inside their own thoughts because your distance has triggered something very basic within them. The realization that they can no longer get what they want through pressure, charm, persuasion, or manipulation. And this is often the point where many people begin falling apart mentally, because the human mind is not designed to remain comfortable while feeling powerless. Deep inside, they wrestle with a hidden fear that they may lose you permanently. This fear does not follow logic. It operates through old instincts buried deep within the mind. The parts that demand answers reach out desperately and refuse to tolerate uncertainty. And here is the difficult truth many people avoid. Their subconscious mind begins forming plans without asking their conscious thoughts for permission. They might convince themselves they need to prove how much they care. They might believe they need to make you pursue them again. Or even worse, they may feel the need to make you suffer for walking away. When pride feels wounded, right and wrong can become surprisingly flexible. All the polished appearances begin breaking down. All the reasons they created and the social masks they wore start dissolving quickly. And this is where it becomes deeply personal for them. They are now dealing with emotions they cannot manage effectively. Feelings of desire, envy, guilt, embarrassment, and insecurity collide together in a way that feels overwhelming. Yet they still cannot respond calmly. They swing back and forth between two different realities. One where they desperately want your attention, and another where they are afraid of how strongly they feel. One where they long to reconnect, and another where they feel ashamed of needing you so much. And here is the strange twist in all of this. You did almost nothing. You simply stopped chasing them. Yet by doing so little, you awakened the deepest and most hidden parts of their mind. The parts they concealed for years. The parts they feel too embarrassed to admit even to themselves. The parts that speak quietly during lonely moments and whisper that they feel weak, that they are not enough, that they want something they can no longer easily reach. Most people try to escape these feelings quickly. They look for distractions. They attempt to explain the anxiety away through logic and reasoning. But this is not something logic easily resolves. This is deep emotional panic finding its way into daily life. And here is the stage where everything can begin changing rapidly. The longer you remain absent, the stronger their internal disorder becomes. They start noticing qualities about you they ignored before. The way you carry yourself with confidence. The way you smile freely without needing their approval. The way your life continues moving forward. Every new observation feels painful. Every fresh realization adds to the pressure building inside them. Yet they remain trapped between fear and desire, between what they want intensely and what they are willing to admit openly. The more they watch from a distance, the more they understand something they spent a long time avoiding. Your attention was never guaranteed. Your presence was never permanent. And now they are being forced to confront that reality. What once felt secure suddenly feels uncertain. What once felt available now feels out of reach. That realization becomes heavier with each passing day. They begin measuring the value of what they lost only after it is no longer within easy reach. Their mind circles endlessly around the same questions. Could things have been different? Could they have acted differently? Could they still repair what has already started slipping away? These questions rarely bring comfort. Instead, they create even more tension. The answers never arrive clearly. And because the answers remain hidden, the mind keeps searching. It keeps revisiting memories, replaying conversations, and analyzing every detail in hopes of finding certainty. Meanwhile, your silence continues doing its work. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. Every day that passes without your pursuit becomes another reminder that the old dynamic no longer exists. The rules they relied upon no longer apply. The certainty they once felt is gone, and that is what unsettles them most. Not merely the possibility of losing you, but the realization that they no longer control the outcome. They cannot predict what happens next. They cannot assume you will return. They cannot rely on old patterns to restore their sense of security. So they continue wrestling with themselves, torn between reaching out and holding back, between hope and fear, between pride and vulnerability, between the person they believed themselves to be and the person they are slowly discovering underneath all the defenses. And as this internal struggle grows stronger, one truth becomes impossible for them to ignore. The silence they once dismissed has become the loudest thing in their world. Every unanswered question echoes through their thoughts. Every memory carries more weight than before. Every passing day forces them to confront emotions they spent years avoiding. What began as your decision to stop chasing has transformed into something much larger inside them. A confrontation with themselves. A confrontation with their fears. A confrontation with the possibility that what they took for granted may never return in the same way again. And that possibility lingers in their thoughts long after everything else becomes quiet. In that trapped place, they begin creating situations in their mind they never expected before. Dreams of having influence again, dreams of reconnecting, and dreams of somehow settling the score, because your decision to step back has revealed an uncomfortable truth. You are not theirs to guide, direct, or possess. You never truly were. And that reality feels painful, mainly to them. And here is the unanswered question we leave hanging for now. They are alert now, even if they are not fully conscious of it. Their inner mind has started working against them in certain ways, and they do not know where it will lead next. The struggle has already begun, and somehow you remain at the center of it. They are starting to come apart, without fully realizing it yet. It begins in subtle ways, like unexplained tension in their body, a sudden wave of anxiety that catches them off guard. But it keeps expanding. A slow and steady panic slips into every thought, every impulse, and every quiet moment. Here is the difficult truth they must confront. Your absence is not simply nothing. It acts like a mirror they cannot easily avoid. And what they see reflected in that mirror unsettles them deeply. They see their authentic self without the usual disguises. They see their weakness, their intense needs, and their fear of depending on another person. They feel disturbed by their own desires. For a long time, they hid behind false beliefs of being in control, being superior, and needing nobody. And you remove those illusions without making any dramatic move. Most people believe confrontation requires direct action. They are mistaken. Walking away is often a powerful form of confrontation. Silence can be powerful too. Refusing to chase becomes the strongest statement of all. Now their inner world comes alive with force. Every desire they buried begins rising to the surface. Every false story they told themselves comes back into view. Every layer of pride and denial surges forward like a wave crashing against a shore. They begin feeling a strange combination of longing and resentment at the same time. Affection mixed with anxiety and desire, tangled together with regret. They might find themselves staring at their phone, with their fingers hovering over the screen, tempted to send a message. They know they probably should not, yet they struggle to resist the urge completely. In that uncertain moment, the fracture inside them grows deeper. Every person carries hidden fears and secret desires tucked away in dark corners of the mind. When life unfolds outside their control, those corners begin expanding. They push outward, looking for expression. They may appear calm, logical, and reasonable on the surface. But the deeper mind does not pretend. It speaks quietly. It pulls relentlessly. It continues whispering beneath everything else. And through your absence, you have activated that pull within them. They begin creating mental images that feel vivid and painfully real. You enjoying life without them, you moving forward without thinking about them. You building new experiences while they remain stuck in old thoughts. Every image wounds their pride. Every image reminds them that they cannot force your attention or reclaim what you have chosen to withdraw. And here is perhaps the most dangerous part of all. This is where obsessive thinking and intense focus can begin to develop, because the human mind dislikes empty spaces more than it dislikes pain itself. The inner self struggles to tolerate a void without assigning meaning to it. When no explanation is available, it quickly invents one. They begin creating reasons, assumptions, and interpretations. They replay old conversations in extraordinary detail, searching for clues they missed. Every memory becomes like a sharp object pointed back toward themselves. Every question they ask and every story they invent reflects fear disguised as ordinary thought. Beneath the surface, primitive instincts start taking over. The part of the mind that existed long before logic, social rules, and careful reasoning begins moving into action. The part that simply wants, reacts, and pursues. It begins making plans, not in conscious awareness, but in deeper psychological layers. And somehow, you remain at the center of that internal storm. They may feel compelled to contact you, check on you, or provoke some type of reaction. Because when absence reaches deep enough into the mind, control starts feeling distant and unfamiliar. Desire and anxiety begin overpowering clear thinking. The inner self struggles beneath emotions it cannot properly manage, and the pressure continues building because they cannot fully release it. Every sign of your independent life affects them deeply. Every update, every achievement, and every indication that your world continues without them lands like another blow. And the painful reality is that you cannot see the storm taking place inside them. They are trapped in thoughts, spinning through an internal chaos set in motion simply because you chose to step back. This is not merely ordinary emotional discomfort. It becomes psychological pressure that changes how they interpret the world. It sharpens their focus and magnifies every insecurity, every weakness, and every hidden fear. And perhaps the hardest part for them is that they do not fully understand why they feel this way. Their rational mind tries to remain reasonable, but the deeper layers of the psyche have already taken command. They have become trapped by the uncertainty you created, trapped by the unknown, trapped by a silence that feels louder than words. Yet they still reveal very little on the outside, at least for now. The tension keeps building quietly within them. Their thoughts become unstable, their longing becomes tangled with fear, their hopes become poisoned by regret. Their fixation grows stronger and harder to control. They are approaching a breaking point. And when the mind reaches this stage, nearly breaking apart can lead either to profound change or complete disorder. And at the center of their confusion stands you. This is the moment they are moving toward without even realizing it. Your absence has done its work quietly, steadily, and without drawing attention to itself. Your choice to stop chasing has dismantled what they thought they had mastered. Now the outer mask is falling away completely. They stare into the empty space you created and see their true self. Not the version they present to the world, but the honest, desperate, and frightened person beneath it all. And here is the unsettling truth. They do not like what they see. They dislike the vulnerability. They dislike the need. They dislike the fear of losing something meaningful. They dislike the constant pull that follows them everywhere. Yet they cannot turn away from it. They cannot erase it, because absence revealed what pursuit never could. Most people never experience this level of self-confrontation. Most never meet the version of themselves that appears when the person they desire walks away. Now they are standing face to face with that version. They want you, yet they fear the intensity of their own feelings. They crave connection, yet they shrink from acknowledging how much they crave it. And this is where the deeper mind starts speaking more clearly than ever before. It tells them they need you, but they cannot return to the old dynamic. It tells them they feel exposed, inadequate, and completely seen for who they really are. The mind fractures further because the defenses that once protected them are no longer working. What comes next cannot be avoided. The internal storm finally opens up. They may reach toward you in subtle ways or dramatic ones, but the situation is no longer what it once was. The old game is gone. The illusion of control is gone. They now understand that they have lost the comfort of believing they were always in charge. This is the truth most people spend their lives avoiding. You were never theirs to direct. You were never theirs to keep. By stepping back and ending the chase, you place them in front of the most unforgiving mirror imaginable, their own mind. Every doubt, every fear, and every secret desire they buried for years now stands plainly before them. The reflection offers no escape and no mercy. They begin noticing things they ignored before, weaknesses they excused, opportunities they wasted, moments they overlooked. The weight of self-blame grows heavier because it is no longer really about you. It is about them, their pride, their defenses, their assumptions, their carefully constructed identity collapsing piece by piece. And here is the brilliance of your silence. It did not force awareness through manipulation. It created awareness simply through absence. No one can force genuine reflection through constant pursuit. No one can easily change another person's inner mirror. Reflection requires distance. It requires boundaries. It requires the strength to stop participating in old patterns. Now they must face themselves. Some will completely unravel. Some will become angry. Some will desperately try to reclaim what they lost. But every one of them changes in some way. Each one awakens to truths they could not accept before. And this is the final and strangely beautiful contradiction. You did very little, yet everything changed. Because when the chase ends, the real story begins. The story was never truly about pursuing someone. It was about looking inward, It was about being exposed. It was about confronting the self honestly and completely. Standing before that empty space, they feel it now. The quiet and unwavering strength of someone who refuses to be controlled. Someone who refuses to chase. Someone who refuses to shrink themselves for another person's comfort. This is where your absence accomplishes what words, arguments, and endless explanations never could. It creates genuine self-recognition, not only for you and not only for them, but for the truth that was always there beneath fear, desire, denial, and uncertainty. A truth waiting for silence to make it heard. And the final realization they cannot escape is this: I wanted them. I cared about them. I feared losing them. But they were never mine to possess, never mine to control, and never mine to chase endlessly. And now, for the first time, I understand that the person I spent so long avoiding was myself.